Let me say good morning to our listeners, good morning to our viewers. Welcome. It's another edition of To The Point. It's Tuesday, the 31st day of March, 2026. You know, in local parlance, we'll say, Mountain. Let me say good morning to those of you also via, of course, our social media platforms, Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning. Welcome. Let me say good morning to my guests. Of course, Mr. Dwight Hosford. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I was saying to myself, the last time I had you on the show was sometime in 2025.
Yes.
Early up 2025.
That's right. That's right.
And we were talking in terms of your capacity of being just returning, being a senator. And showing some representation for the new National Party. Mm-hmm. Now I'm having you today as candidate. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How you doing, sir? How you doing?
Well, not too bad. All praises to the Almighty. I'm all right. Not complaining. I get up every day and I thank God for the breath of life. And each day, it's a blessing. We're above ground, so we got to be thankful.
So true. Now you have... there's the experience now that you're picking up as candidate for St. George's South. East, my apologies. St. George's South East. Let me get that right. I'm assuming there's lots of eye-openers for you. Lots of things you have seen that maybe you may have taken for granted before.
Indeed.
Speak to me in relation to that.
Well, it's a tremendous experience. And as you indicated, an eye-opener. In the front line, you get to see firsthand when you interact with people, not just their living conditions, what they express to you that they're going through in various aspects of their lives. Being in the front line now, getting this experience, it's even more, in my view, humbling. Because you see, quite often people think of being in politics as a celebrated thing. They see the PR images and the flashes that make it some sort of romantic and some sort of exotic, fancy thing. But it is really hard work when you engage with people, because people expect you, even if you can't immediately or directly solve the problem. They want you to feel as they do. They want to express themselves to someone who's listening and somebody who's concerned, somebody who cares. And quite often, if you are genuine about your interface with people, you carry that away, and it's a bit of a burden too that you carry. People need to understand that you're actually there to help to carry people's burdens.
You some folks may have mentioned to you that you're filling a big shoes.
Indeed.
Of course, for the late representative from the new National Party who has represented for us in Georgia Southeast. How does that feel for you? Getting into that shoes and making the necessary adjustments.
Well, I mean, to come into the saddle of a rider, a long-standing rider, and a rider of that level of distinction and great service is quite, on a personal level, intimidating to the extent that you ask yourself about your capacity to do the same things, because quite often that is the first thing you think in your mind, to do the same or to be the same. What I would say is that my predecessor, a great champion for the people and for his country, he gave great service, and what we intend to do, although there's a different face, it is the same commitment to delivering for people. But I think in these changing times, with my generation, when I say my generation, people of my age group and time, is to appreciate the times that we have, to learn from the past, and also to build on the service of those that went before. And we have to figure out how we move our people along, because we are really a generation that is a bridge generation. We're bridging the forebears of the past, those who have laid the foundation for us, and the generation that is coming up. And we are a bridge to that future. So we are now having to carve a path forward. And it's an enormous challenge.
All right. I understand where you're coming from. I want to still keep the conversation within the constituency a bit. I mean, I'm assuming you've been listening to the concerns of the constituents.
Yeah, what we've been doing is a pretty large constituency, and I mentioned coming into the saddle of a long-standing rider. One has to despite the enthusiasm by many people, they want you to be here and there and everywhere, almost like the Holy Ghost. I wish I had that capacity. Any human could have that. But if one has to do interface in a meaningful way, it has to be in a structured way, and that is the way we have been engaging in cottage engagements and interface directly with people, not necessarily as one of my team says, not necessarily putting on road shows and that sort of thing. That has its time and its place. The important thing is to interact and to learn, to understand, and so that you can focus your energies, your mind, and you see what the real issues are. And we have been picking up some of those real issues.
What are they consistently talking about, especially the residents?
What I've observed and what I've been picking up is that there is a great need in terms of youth development. You see, at this point in time, there are a number of young people. Many of them graduated from school and they're jobless. And this is a great concern because you see a growing engagement in alcoholism and drug use, even as young as 16 years old. And that is also tied into a current issue. And we're not necessarily pointing fingers here. We're talking about the objective reality of the difficulties with the cost of living. Because you have families and parents, householders, reeling under low wages. It's difficult to provide for children and provide opportunities. And so you have them slipping into idleness in some instances, drug use and deviant behavior. And that is a great concern because you're wasting young talent and young minds. And there's a great need in that area. Certainly in other aspects, because it's not one. There are prevailing issues, but then there's not one issue to each part of the constituency. The constituency is quite unique, and every part is quite different. But certainly, community development needs are one of the primary interests of persons. This constituency, I don't know if you know, is the most interconnected constituency in the country. That is a fact.
Yeah.
In terms of the road network,
one place takes you to another.
Between communities and villages and so on. It is the most interconnected in the country. Fantastic road network had been put down by our party in administration, led by my predecessor as the flag bearer there. And many of those network roads are falling into disrepair. That largely is due to current circumstances with development projects, particularly the Cliff Road, and parts of the constituency has to be used now to bypass, and all kinds of vehicles are passing, including heavy trucks and so on, and that is negatively affecting the road. So those are some of the needs. In some of the other constituencies, simple things like the maintenance of crossways across the road, the building of a proper bus shed, and that sort of thing. So you're getting those things when you interact. You see, I am not taking the approach that, I have all the ideas and I'm just coming to say, well, you need this and you need that and so on. That is the wrong approach in my view. And certainly our present generation are much more aware in terms of the technological instrumentalities in the Facebook, and they see what is happening.
What is possible and what is impossible.
Right, and they see what is happening elsewhere.
Yeah.
And they too aspire to see that happening in their communities. Whether, as a matter of fact, some of these things that they desire can fit, it's a different question. But one has to engage to know.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
All right. You spoke earlier about youth development, and there's always a concern of mine, being a young person too.
Boy, when they watch the white hair and the white beard, they might know that. Depends on who you talk to.
I know.
But I'm with you. I understand.
I know. But youth development is critical in Grenada today. We see how young people are straying, if to use a simple word. They're straying from a lot. What is really needed to get young people on that track that they need to be on, especially in terms of their personal self-development and gaining the rightful employment and all of that? What is really needed for young people? What direction do young people really need? What of advice would you want if there's a couple of them listening to us right now?
Yes.
And Tell me.
Well, youth development is a single expression, but it covers a multitude of things. It certainly involves creating greater opportunities for self-expression and self-development. I think certainly the young people that I've interacted with, thankfully, I'm impressed with the fact that they're not asking you to give them something. They're not saying, well, boss, give me $10,000, give me $5. Not necessarily that. They want an opportunity, like, for example, to do their own business. Some of them see themselves as young creatives. They want to be musicians and so on. And they want to see that the gains of their pursuits are perceptible to them, that they can achieve them. And so part of the development is to harness their skills and to give expression to their ambitions. That involves training where there's just raw talent. Particularly, I've interacted with some young men in the Labyrinth Peterfield area, and they have an extraordinary talent with their hands in terms of masonry, and one is quite capable as an electrician, and he, just like you, he likes electrical stuff and electronics, and his mind buzzes on that. But there's no formal certification in those things. So it involves that. It also involves, in my humble view, the opportunity to interact socially, because we are social animals, and we build and we learn about ourselves from other people. I mean, when I was growing up, compared to what I see now, I remember telling my brother on the phone, he's currently abroad, and the young people now don't know what it's like to play cricket with a coconut bat. Yeah, they know how to bust your toe and pelt stone behind mangoes and so on. Everybody's up on this thing, especially the young people, almost as if the first thing they do when they come out of belly is in these things. Now this has a tremendous benefit, because the internet and its platforms, in my view, can quite possibly the final empowerment of mankind in terms of the ability to reach so much information, and to absorb it and to condense it and to extract what you need. But one of the risks we're running with young people and overemphasis on these technological devices is that it activates a part of the brain that gets you stuck on the visual images and the dynamics of imagery, that you lose the ability and the opportunity to develop other functionalities of your mind, such as in communication skills, problem solving, temper and anger management, which is quite important. And you see a lot of that when young people interact in small places, especially when you have these little parties and these outings, when disagreements arise, even on a domino table. Man fly off and that sort of thing. So it's a multifaceted approach to youth development, but you want to give young people the opportunity to feel safe and comfortable about themselves in their space.
I agree with you with that. We're due for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after this short break. Don't touch it out. The fire's about to be lit. Get ready for the ultimate grilling showdown. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026 is coming your way. Saturday, May the 30th at the Monroe Plain Field. The search is on for the island's top grill masters. Do you have what it takes? Bring your flavor and compete in the chicken category, the seafood category, and the bold, most creative grill category, where daring ideas take the crown. And this year, the heat isn't just for adults. Introducing the Junior Grillers category. Schools and youth groups. If you are under 18, this is your time to shine. So fire up those coals, sharpen those grilling skills, and get ready to battle for grilling glory. Registration is now open. Call or WhatsApp 405-8458 to secure your spot. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026. Saturday, May the 30th, Monroe Plain Field. Come for food, stay for the vibes, and witness who will be crowned King of the Grill. Brought to you by Maggie, enhancing the natural flavor of your food.
athletic fans, the time is drawing near for the most anticipated junior athletic game in the region, the 53rd Carifta Game, right here at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, April 4th to April 6th, 2026. Get your tickets now and be part of the incredible excitement the athletes will bring, both on the track and in the field events. It's going to be a spectacular display of young talent and sheer determination. We've got options for everyone. Finish line tickets, day pass, just $120. Season pass at a fantastic $350. The main pavilion offers a day pass for $60 and a season pass for $170. Even our secondary stands are accessible at $40 for a day pass and $100 for the season. And for the ultimate budget-friendly experience, bleachers are only $25 for a day pass and $60 for the season. On April 4th, we're kicking things off with a bang. And to add to the visual, supporters are encouraged to wear green on April 5th, yellow on day 2, and on day 3, red. Let's paint the stadium with pride, and the excitement does not stop there. An added attraction is a vibrant cultural village, showcasing our rich cultural heritage with tons of excitement daily. You truly don't want to miss Carifta 2026. It's a celebration of sport, culture, and community.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to my guest, Mr. Dwight Hosford, with me this morning, and he's a candidate for St. George's Southeast. And welcome back once again, sir. I want to switch this conversation a wee bit this morning. We talk a wee bit in the first segment about the constituency. You know, the geopolitical Middle East, the impact on Grenada, sir. I want to talk a little bit. How do you assess the current situation in the Middle East and in the wider global implications?
Wow, that is a very deep question. The current situation is quite frightening, because I think that it could push us, and when I say us, all of us in the world, to the brink of thermonuclear disaster. I don't see, as the U.S. authorities have touted, that the conflict with Iran right now in the Persian Gulf is going to end in a matter of weeks. I don't see that. All indications are that the crisis is deepening, the conflict is accelerating. The impact on small states like Grenada is not far to seek. It's quite easily perceptible. You're talking about the center of gravity of this conflict now, as it is evolving, is around the Strait of Hormuz, which is a vital shipping corridor. I think something like 25 to 26% of the different levels of crude oil is transported through the Strait of Hormuz, as well as something like 20%, I think, of the world's liquefied natural gas supply. And with the tensions there, you have already seen that I think now the price for a barrel is now shot up to something between 120 to 124 US dollars a barrel. Now, before the conflict, you had Iran producing somewhere around 1 million barrels of oil a day at a cost of 47 or so US dollars. Now it is 1.5 million, but at a cost of $120 million. The interruption of the shipping lanes, so you're just talking the economics and the chain effect now.
Yes.
The interruption will affect us in the following ways, principally, and I think very immediately, certainly in the short term, as the conflict continues. It will cause a surge in the price of energy, because you have an interruption in the energy supply, and if alternative routes are used, the price will go up to become more expensive because this is an important maritime cargo carriage lane. That too, as we have seen recently, is developing into a problem for us on the tourism front, because as the cost of energy increases, you have an increase also in jet fuel costs and an increase in the price of airline tickets, which would be a disincentive for tourism, the tourism market and tourists coming here. So it is starting to have that slow effect. Now, small states like us, we need to be aware, not that we can do anything about it. I've always said that we must be very careful with our diplomacy internationally. We should not be engaging as players in the geopolitical battlefield. Because, as old people say, when elephants fight, it's the grass that suffer.
So true.
So we ain't have no business in that. However, we must be prepared. I think now would be a good time for us to buckle down and to reprioritize our public expenditure and to be more energy efficient and to conserve. And certainly on the agricultural front, to be more mindful that we need to focus on essential crop development for our own sustainability and self-sustenance. Because this is a very good time for us to look at strategies of supplementing the food input bill, because that too would be interrupted. Now, at present, some people figure, well, that thing ain't reach us yet, so we go along our lives normal. I think that would be a mistake, and certainly for those who govern, and this is a time to start making contingency planning. I dare say that from what I've seen recently, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia is quite concerned about those developments, and they too are going into contingency mode, and I think we should be on our way in that direction very soon. That situation as it develops is not only going to affect the tourism and the energy supply, as I just mentioned. Those are just the immediate knock-on effects. You'll have some wider reverberations, certainly in terms of access to borrowing and finances on the international markets. These things would feel the tension and the pressures of the development of that war that's being carried on there. The Persian Gulf has always been a hotbed, we know this. But the alarming and very troubling developments taking place now are not quite the usual as we have seen in the past. You're seeing that Israel is inviting other countries to get into the war, and other countries are being pressured geopolitically to align with us. That's a fertile situation for a conflict on a global scale. I'm not going to say World War III, but certainly nearing that. It is something very serious that we have to watch. We have to be prepared for shocks coming out of it and we need to be very vigilant about how we conduct our own affairs here, because the usual cliche, when them sneeze, we catch cold. So we have to be very careful in that regard and keep our eyes on what is going on there.
Now, what should Grenada in particular be doing to prepare, for the possible economic and, supply chain disruptions that we possibly expecting to happen sooner or later? What should Grenada really be doing now?
Well, as I indicated some of it just now, contingency plan is important. On the agricultural front, you need to identify your food security supply that you will need to buffer, because remember, we are an import economy. And as I mentioned earlier, with the interruption in the Strait of Hormuz, that is also a shipping lane, not just for oil, but you have fertilizers pass through there, the cargo carriage of other goods to supply Asia and other parts of the world, and eventually us as well. The important thing is that we need to see that there's a domino effect that will happen. It may not touch us immediately, as I say, it is reverberating in stages as it continues. In terms of subsidies to cushion the shocks, I admit there is going to be some limitation there, because it would be access to the funding to do that. But if we reprioritize expenditure and focus expenditure on other vital areas so that we can be prepared to buffer ourselves, that certainly would help. I'm not saying that we should just simply say that is happening out 5,000, 6,000 miles from us and there's nothing that we can do. That is like a captain manning the ship saying the seas are rough, what you want me to do. Yeah. So it would require that sort of thinking, and I don't say, and I don't intend to say that it is an easy thing to do, and I'm not blaming anybody, because these are shocks that are coming. Where the real leadership, where the real issue of how you approach this comes in is your preparedness, your awareness that these things will reach you, and you're being prepared to deal with it, coming up with ways of tackling the shocks that will come, and not just waiting for it to happen and scramble up or complain or throw your hands up in the air. I mean, we can't afford to do that.
Are you foreseeing signs of the current administration getting themselves in that preparatory mood for what is the impact that's to come? Are you seeing those signs, sir?
So far, I haven't seen that. I have not seen that. What I have seen when I've been following regional reaction to these developments is certainly utterances from the Prime Minister St. Lucia and indications as to what they are doing. It may be that the current administration here is undertaking that kind of assessment and looking at ways to prepare. That has not been communicated to the public, so I don't know. But all I am saying is that this is the direction in which we should be focusing our minds so that we can safeguard our people.
I agree that. Let's switch a little bit to the current political climate here in Grenada, sir. How would you describe the current political environment in Grenada?
Well, I think we are very much into a state of election mode. People are expecting elections at some point. Many pundits have been making predictions and forecasts. I think right now people are more concerned about how they are going to meet the basic cost of sustaining themselves and their families. That is a very vital issue. It is bread and butter. And politicians are creatures generally of expediency. What seems to work now, and always creatures of the grand plan. But quite often the objective political reality is what people are experiencing now and how they expect you to address what they are experiencing now. So if I am in a situation that exists now economically, telling you about grand plans, to the average person, the gains of that is not perceptible. I don't see how that would affect me because I'm going through this now. Giving me the promise of a future solution to something that is happening now would not resonate with me because I am in a situation now and all I can see is my difficulty.
Yeah.
And so I see a lot of that now. But I think, if I may say so, for me, not speaking for my colleagues or anything, this is just my personal experience with people and how they have engaged me. I think people are more aware, more politically aware than when I had been involved campaigning with and for political colleagues and politicians, let's say 10 years ago in 2013 or in 2008. And you get that from the questions, the interactions, the queries that they make, and even the response ideas that they throw out. People, I think our Grenadian people are not foolish, and I don't think their intelligence should be insulted by foolish propositions either. I know for me, I think that really in politics you must put people that make sense in front of people, and that is my approach to it.
What is the biggest disconnect that you are seeing so far between government and the people? What's that disconnect? You spoke a lot about conversation with people, so there is some form of disconnect between government and the people. What's that biggest disconnect that you are hearing about or even foreseeing yourself?
In my view, I think even though this administration prides itself on what they consider to be their social media and PR skill, I think the disconnect is communication.
Yeah.
There's no meaningful interface with people. I think they're living in their own PR bubble, and much of their PR does not match the reality on the ground. And that itself is a disconnect. I think another disconnect is the real and meaningful political engagement with people.
Yeah.
As a political organization that espoused certain ideas. You see, the politics is not a schoolyard or a classroom thing where you do an equation and you just tick off things. That is why psephology, which is the study of election trends and statistics and mathematics, can't properly capture human thought and human emotions. You can't read it. You can only measure things that happened in the past. So with all our technology and all the advances in electioneering and election mapping and statistics, many of the current political operatives and actors on the stage, politicians, pale in comparison to our first generation politicians. I'm talking about the era of the Bradshaws, of the Budds, the Garys, and the Ed Williamses and the Manleys and so on, because it's about interaction with people. That is a humanistic element that does not that cannot be captured in an exact way by measured scientific approach. Because you never know what a man is thinking, what he's feeling. I mean, I think that is given. So I think a great shortfall is that, and linked to that, necessarily connected to that communication deficit, meaningful, proper communication deficit, I think, is transparency, because they go hand in hand. I mean, take, for example, with the issue of deportees. You don't make secret deals and then come later and try a spin and say, well, that will help us with labor supply, and that sort of ridiculous proposition. And that too is an issue, and I have not heard much discussion on it, because that is of concern to many people. Why is it that we feel the need to engage that? Are we being forced into it? If we are being forced into it, who is forcing us and why? Why is it that we are at this stage where there's a proposition to be taking non-Grenadians into the country and to house them? And it is not enough to say that, we're going to tell them, pay for it. Clearly, this is not an equation or a situation where you can dictate to anybody. You seem to be dictated to. So these are the things that really highlight, in my view, that communication and transparency deficit.
We recently heard of, in relation to that recent U.S. visa bond. What's your thoughts on that and the implications for Grenadians? As comers of the 2nd of April, folks who will be going for their visa and stuff. Maybe not everyone, but maybe slap at that visa bond. What's your thoughts on that?
I think we need more official and clear official communication on that, about what that really means. I've heard different versions of who would be affected by that, and the fact that you're hearing different versions of that, there isn't sufficient clarity on it. But certainly these new requirements, I think, are a part of a series of, I describe them as sanctions. It has to be, because they follow a pattern of behavior in relation to these Eastern Caribbean and other countries. But certainly in our neck of the woods, I'll mention the Eastern Caribbean, some of our states by the U.S. authorities. Now, it is within their right as a sovereign country to impose restrictions on how you enter the country. Similarly, we have the same right to impose restrictions, whether it's visa or landing permits, as the case may be, and how we operate our immigration policy. But it is not happening in a vacuum. I think that is the point that we must appreciate. It is not happening in a vacuum. These things, have been rolled out recently on the heels of the tensions between the United States and Venezuela. And they also happen in the context of our foreign policy pursuits, and a lot of people don't like to recognize that. You see, one of the things I've observed, GT, in relation to the current U.S. administration and Donald Trump is that you notice that there's one U.S. president of the past that Donald Trump favors most. And he has a portrait of the president in a very prominent place in the White House, and that is Reagan. Reagan saw himself as the cowboy crusader against the Iron Curtain and the USSR, against communism as he saw it. I think, likewise, Trump sees himself as some crusader against the growing international reaches and influence of countries like Russia and China.
Okay.
And they have been looking at how other states, micro-states like us, especially micro-states and small states within their hemispheric influence, they're part of the hemisphere. And they've been looking at it very, very closely as against what their foreign policy objectives and ambitions are in relation to checking that influence, or some people say beating it back, or at least managing it. And so we have, in my view, got ourselves embroiled in a bigger game, geopolitical and geostrategic chessboard. In some instances, I think wittingly, in some instances unwittingly. And so that is where I think these measures emanate from.
All right. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks, to the point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We'll be right back. Don't touch it out.
Sir.
Thursday, April 2nd, 2026, the official pre-character, all-inclusive, all-white cruise experience is here. Hosted by the Grenada Olympians. It's respectfully yours. Premium entertainment with music by DJ Blackstorm and graphics, food and drink inclusive, all-white dress code experience. It's an Olympian hosted celebration. Ticket outlets, go to fed.com. Grenadian Optical, Town and Grandance. Hot Boys Food Truck, Wall Street, and Chillaxing Cafe in Grandance and Subi. All proceeds support the next generation of Olympians. So on Thursday, April 2nd, respectfully yours. About to see Carifta Weekend starts.
Grenada, the fire's about to be lit. Get ready for the ultimate grilling showdown. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026 is coming your way. Saturday, May the 30th at the Monrouge Plain Field. The search is on for the island's top grill masters. Do you have what it takes? Bring your flavor and compete in the chicken category, the seafood category, and the bold, most creative grill category, where daring ideas take the crown. And this year, the heat isn't just for adults. Introducing the Junior Grillers category. Schools and youth groups. If you are under 18, this is your time to shine. So fire up those coals, sharpen those grilling skills, and get ready to battle for grilling glory. Registration is now open. Call or WhatsApp 405-8458 to secure your spot. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026. Saturday, May the 30th, Monrouge Plain Field. Come for food, stay for the vibes, and witness who will be crowned King of the Grill. Brought to you by Maggie, enhancing the natural flavor of your food.
Athletic fans, the time is drawing near for the most anticipated junior athletic game in the region, the 53rd Carifta Game, right here at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, April 4th to April 6th, 2026. Get your tickets now and be part of the incredible excitement the athletes will bring, both on the track and in the field event. It's going to be a spectacular display of young talent and sheer determination. We've got options for everyone. Finish line tickets, state pass, just $120. Season pass at a a fantastic $350. The main pavilion offers a day pass for $60 and a season pass for $170. Even our secondary stands are accessible at $40 for a day pass and $100 for the season. And for the ultimate budget-friendly experience, bleachers are only $25 for a day pass and $60 for the season. On April 4th, we're kicking things off with a bang. And to add to the visual, supporters are encouraged to wear green on April 5th, yellow on day 2, and on day 3, red. Let's paint the stadium with pride, and the excitement does not stop there. An added attraction is a vibrant cultural village, showcasing our rich cultural heritage with tons of excitement daily. You truly don't want to miss Carifta 2026. It's a celebration of sport, culture, and community.
Welcome back once again, listeners. Welcome back, to our viewers, especially those of you via our social media platforms. Good morning to you. Hope all is well. I want to talk to you, of course, welcome back. I want to talk to you a wee bit about Team NMP, or NMP team, the expectations moving forward. I don't think I've ever asked you this particular question in terms of conversation.
Right.
Why NMP for you, sir?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
As a political choice?
As a political choice.
Well, certainly the ideals of the party align with my own background and my own aspirations. I think this is a party that's, I think, objectively hands down. No argument can seriously be made against the proposition, which is this, that the New National Party really represents the party of ordinary people, working people. As we say, black and chicken is a party that cares about lifting people up. Many of our success stories and even our leadership comes from a certain background, and we espouse the ideals that we can all succeed. And certainly education is the best economic policy there is, and we believe that our people need to have greatest access to that, particularly working class people.
Yeah.
And so we also believe in a certain economic freedom, and that the business class must be allowed to operate and create economic activities and expand. And so our policies are usually for making an environment that is conducive to that expansion, as well as making sure that we hold on to and lift those who are most vulnerable and make sure that they have the protection so they're not left behind. And that to me is an ideal political focus to be part of.
What differentiates, the New National Party and the team that is currently being part of the party from other, of course, in terms of leadership and vision? What differentiates?
Oh, this new team, I think the collective talent and content of the new team quite inspiring. It's diverse, it's impressive, and we have amongst us membership of the parliament that is seasoned, so that the newbies, as they say, are not coming in to just jump in the sea and swim. There is focused guidance, and there's some experience that you can rely on and draw on. And certainly in terms of the past standard bearers of excellence, we have them in the background with tremendous institutional wisdom and experience to give guidance, so as you avoid certain pitfalls and avoid making certain errors that have been made before, so you don't need to repeat them. We're not saying that we won't make any errors, but certainly not those of the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can Grenadian realistically, expect, this particular grouping? What can be expected from this particular grouping, moving forward?
I think a very energetic and focused foot forward to putting our foot forward to national development. The team is, as I indicated, diverse in talent. So you'll have a multi-factored approach to how we engineer and pilot economic development. So it was not necessarily just be heavily in terms of naming big projects and that sort of thing. We have people who have tremendous experience in community development. And so the essence of communities and what people at that level require would certainly be addressed.
All right. We get into that time of the morning. We're moving up to just roughly 12 minutes before the top of the hour. I think we give this opportunity to our listeners, viewers out there, who may have a question or two they may like to ask. Because I think I've already exhausted most of my questions really for the morning. Let's take our
time is usually short.
Yeah, time is short. Let's take our first caller for the morning. Caller, you're live, and I beg of you callers, of course, let's be brief so we can accommodate as many callers as possible. My first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, and good morning to your guests.
Good morning to you, sir.
I respect all that the NNP has done during the quarter of a century that they were given the opportunity to govern Grenada. We cannot take away what was done, but it's over a very long time. But on the point you made just now, I would say that you never lift people up by giving them things. Giving people handouts doesn't lift them up. You lift them up when you empower them. Empower them. How do you empower them? By opportunities for development, through education, ensuring that when they work they are properly paid. You empower them so they become independent, not by giving them things. And for the 25 years the NNP was in office, not once did they ever lift the minimum wage. Never ever touch minimum wage. Right? When the workers were struggling for their pension, there were a lot of games being played. Now, talking about education and lifting people up, empowering them, the current government has made education free up to the age of 18. That is empowerment. They are free. They can go to school. They can enter college free. There is also the policy that you probably couldn't think about, of one university graduate per household. These are significant things about empowering people. So just saying that you're for the black and chicken and the small man, without taking the constructive things to lift them up and empower them, to me, it doesn't ring well. It does not ring well. Okay? That's all I'd like to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Respond to the caller, sir?
No, it wasn't a question. Certainly it was the expression of a political partisan view. I don't agree with it. The part of his view that I agree with is that, yes, part of it is to create opportunities. You don't just give handouts. I think if we are to have a serious, balanced and respectful political debate, although I expect in this season you're not going to get much seriousness and balance. But if we are to have such a debate, one has to appreciate and agree that as an objective fact that there has been tremendous scholarship opportunities extended and provided to Grenadians over the course of the New National Party's time in office. There seems to be a fixation with political figures of the past that some people did not like and they hate very much even to this day. And so every time you have a formal interaction like this, they cuss about what was not done in the past and what was not done now. In relation to minimum wage is not the creation of employment, Minimum wage does not give you a job. It is a setting of a standard minimum living wage, which they require when people hire. You don't hire persons to work. You don't go below that wage. And we already seen in some countries, particularly small states, what that does, setting a minimum wage by legislative and executive fiat or legislative and executive direction or a directive, it causes businesses to go into an efficiency mode. So instead of I paying that minimum wage to 6 employees, I pay it to 3 and let the 3 do the 6 men work. So it is a balanced discussion. It's not a simplistic thing. I hear you. I mean, everyone has a side of the political perspective, but we need to be a little bit more meaningful about that. In relation to education and free education, this administration has not made education in this country free. If you survey our historical experience in Grenada, my good brother, you'll see that there's progression on that front at different stages. And at a certain point in our history, secondary education was made free by a certain administration that was not elected. And we're happy for it because we have carried that forward since then. What I understand is that the proposition, the policy initiative here was to extend that to tertiary education, and there has been some difficulties in funding that and the spread and reach and effect of that at present, and that can be itself another debate. But I hear you. I agree partly with what you say. Lifting people up is to giving them a hand up and not necessarily a handout. But you have to appreciate that the business of government is not a unidimensional focus. There are a number of things that you must do. That is to say, you must also give subsidies and support, assistance, which you may describe emotively as handouts to certain people, because that is the urgent need. And as well, you must also create programs for the development of others. So it is not a one-size-fits-all. And I think we'll need to be a little bit more balanced with. Okay.
We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning to you, guests. And just like the previous caller before, you have to acknowledge the fact, and I am not an NNP supporter, so you hit the jackpot. But you have to acknowledge the fact that most Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell has done a lot for Grenada significantly. And people always say in the world, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. It's wrong, because he has done. He's not perfect, but he's not wrong, so we acknowledge that. But what I was going about, I find that this team that you all have there, I remember that you all were saying is a sort of young people in diapers and this and that. Of course, this team here right now, that the NDC is being supported by transitional leads and a lot of people that would be really supporting them. Actually, people are saying they're successful. Yes, they're successful, but you have a lot of people behind them that's backing them. But my main point is this: you all have said so much about these young people. And to me, when I look at the team, it's the same set of young people that you all condemn, that really that have no experience, wasn't in government, etc. So I'm still wondering what is going to happen, because we might be going back into the same situation that you all condemn of these young, inexperienced people, you know? So also, I think in terms of unity, it's time that the whole country be unified. So I'm inviting you down, my friend, to a breakfast on the Carronade at 7 o'clock. This Saturday, glorious Saturday, on the Carronade by the Pizza Hut. So all of us, all the parties could come down together in that breakfast, and everybody could come together, because everybody talking about unity. So I am challenging all of you, including you, come down to the Carronade Plaza next to the Pizza Hut with all the supporters, and let's go there and we have a good breakfast together, supported, and we can all trash out things and meet each other, because it's time that everybody is united and not be divided. So my point really is the same set of young people that all condemn the NDC is the same set of young people that would be running the country. What say you? I await your response.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Anything you want to say back to them?
Well, in reverse order, I mean, in terms of the breakfast, I would be out for a few days, but I would certainly send my best wishes, my prayers on this Easter season, and a contribution if the sister would like that. It's a good idea. Unity. I mean, all politicians call for unity and for us to be unified. But historical experience has shown that it is only when we face an existential threat, either by natural catastrophe, war, or some calamity, that we really come together. Because unless people realize that we really need one another and we need to live good, we don't necessarily come together. And that's why I've been saying, GT, even in our political fora, and many of our political fora, my personal approach to this is that the politics is not, to me, the politics is merely how you vote, it's not how you live. If people want to take that to a different level where they're hating people and they're getting on, like I've seen the kind of nastiness that's going on the social media, that's a business. I don't get involved in that. And like dominoes, cards swing round. These things have a way of warping and coming back at you, and you really should stay away from that.
Okay.
In relation to the team and the newness of the team, yes, it is the natural order of things, my sister, that there is renewal of every organization, such as there is renewal of life. The course of political parties follow the course of nature itself and the nature of life. There is a time when the old needs to give way to the new. As to what the arguments were about NDC having a bunch of young people running the country, I'm not sure. I don't know about that. If that was an argument that you heard, I heard something different. What I heard was the greenness in terms of political maturity, experience, and political skill. What I think this new team of the New National Party are bringing is that we're bringing not just freshness in terms of the personnel, but I mentioned earlier the collective content of the team that you have before you, my sister. I think that portends well for the future of the country. We have people that are competent, not people necessarily looking for a work, and has been demonstrated by some on the other side, people who are looking to pay bills, to pay debt, and to get rich. That is not anybody's interest here. None of us are looking for a work. This is about national development. And so this team, I think, is a well-grounded team, a very multi-skilled team. And in terms of experience, my sister, you have just given praises to the former chief of the party and the country, who I think has experience and political skill and governmental wisdom and abilities that are second to none. And I can assure you that he and others like him and my predecessor in the Southeast are giving and will continue to give the team the benefit of their wisdom. And so I don't have a problem with the newness of the team. In fact, I think this is a great new beginning.
Okay. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Morning to your listener. I would want a response before I make the comment. But Hosford, do you know approximately what age an individual, be it a woman or a man, should have an idea of a bank account being joint or a bank account having more than one signature? What do you think might be the average age? And then I have a comment thereafter.
What is it?
He was asking if you know the desired age of individuals having a joint account or something of that nature. I don't know if you want to repeat.
That will be associated with the age of majority, which under some laws used to be 18, but there's an act of civil responsibility which elevated that to 21.
Okay. Caller, you want to continue?
Oh, yes, based on that, the age of 21, it is shocking to know that you have adults who are presently now in the upper ages of retirement, 65 and 70 years old. But prior to that, they were above 30. Some of them are graduates from university, so they have certification. And it seems as though those persons who had so much experience in government came up with a program called CBI, and you had accounts that did not have checks and balances. What should the young people or what should Grenada think about those individuals who were involved in the putting together of that program and the management of that program, so that you had a situation where Grenadian passport has been sold and millions of dollars cannot be found? It was taken away. As a matter of fact, I think there is supposed to be an investigation. The former Prime Minister indicated there is supposed to be an investigation ongoing. Do we know who is the team? Is there a name of the persons who are involved in the investigation with regard to that great enterprise, jumbo shrimps? I think just on that simple note, on the question of persons who in government, not making sure that you have checks and balances with regard to signatures for money, because you can have more than one signature, so that people don't walk away with money or it disappears into deep holes. That should disqualify all those who participate and was a part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Response, caller, if need be.
Well, I don't think there is anything that I need to respond to. I mean, I'm not sure what particular issue that he's talking about, but I hear the common refrain that I've been encountering, which is that those that stand opposite to my political organization, they seem to have a fixation with past issues and controversies in response to the current or present malaise. So I don't think that's a useful debate at all. I tend to look forward. I prefer to move forward with certain ideas about our issues now. But I want to say this, that GT, we have to accept that these are changing times and these are perilous times too. We are dealing with two very vital generations that will have to bear the burden of the challenges that lie ahead of us. The one that I currently belong to and the one that is coming up behind us. That generation, by sociological statistics in the Caribbean, is a generation that is the one behind us coming up. Is the one that it is predicted that something like 65% of that upcoming generation will never, like you and I, know what it is to have your own home. There will be people who may, are likely for the most part of their life, or if not all of their lives, live in apartments. Yeah. So these are times that are changing, where there's different sociological issues coming out that we have to address, and not necessarily the past confusions that were the subjects of previous election. My friends, you have to get it very clear. The issues of the next election, whenever it is called, are not going to be that of the last election. Okay. So for us to be harping on that, it is not going to be a useful conversation at all.
Right. We have another caller, which will be our final caller for the morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you.
I just want to say something about this electoral thing. Now, we know we passed through the slavery, and some of the election thing, I wish they could stop it. Like, you had to shove your hand in ink. Before, that time was when you couldn't read and write. We have educated now, and we have to teach our people how to go on. This kind of looking at a symbol and putting an X. When you go to school and you get an X on your exercise, that was wrong, you know. When you get a correct, you...
Caller, I think you're getting distracted because you have your device in the background on.
No. I don't have a device. No, sorry. Let me get that Mr. Joseph.
Go ahead, please, caller, and be brief. We need to wrap.
Yeah. Yes, what I would like to see in election, that we as people who are coming to vote, we must see a name, not a symbol, and not to make an X, do something different, and shoving your hand in the ink to walk around. We are in the modern world now. I would like that to change it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution also this morning. I hope you understand what
yes, it was a bit low, but I heard it. Actually, it is a very interesting contribution, because there are electronic election voting systems now. In my experience, when I served elsewhere recently, the two elections that I was part of looking at in terms of the transition in office, the voting system was electronic.
Okay.
But still, you had identification of name, and in that instance, there was a name, there was an image, and there's party symbol. But you vote digitally. But our staining fingers with my sister, I think it's practical. It's a practical way to also safeguard against electoral fraud. Because the ink stays with you for some time, and it's something that will identify that you have cast a ballot already. In terms of how we treat the politics and whether it's symbol and name and so on, coming out of the background of our West Indian slave history, as the sister mentioned, I think it's more about awareness of our voting population. It's a cultural thing. And we can only get out of it if our conversation, and I put it on people in politics, myself, those before me, those on the stage now, and those to come. If you have a sensible, meaningful conversation about the electoral process, politics, and the participation of people in governance, then all of this nonsense and mindless and thoughtless commentary and the rabid aggression against your neighbor because of a political perspective, I think, would disappear. I mean, because who you vote for, that's your business. You don't have to tear me down because you don't agree. You don't like NNP. You don't like NNP, fine. That's fine. You don't have to come to tear me down. And I don't particularly like a policy approach of the government or the NDC and so on. I don't go around tearing them down. I mean, truth be told, I was in class with some of them. So this is only for a time. And I remember, I wouldn't call his name, a deceased, very celebrated Grenadian politician, and say that anybody who fighting down one another for politicians are fools, because behind the scenes they go and take a drink with one another and they even laugh at what they're scrabbling for us outside there. And one day you're for X person and you want to kill for X person, and X person go and join Y person. What are you doing now? You look like a fool to your neighbors. So let's just be aware of the issues, my brother and your listeners and those following us, and let's engage in a debate about policy. Let's engage in how we move our country forward and leave the personal part of it. It's not meaningful.
All right.
Leave that personal thing out.
So I want to say thank you for being on the program this morning.
It's always my pleasure.
Always interesting conversation to, of course, held with you. And pleasure. I want to wish you all the best for the rest of the day. And, of course, endeavors to come. I know it's not going to be our final conversation.
No, I look forward
to
to
back
next
again.
Time. I look forward
and
to
I hope we go more in depth for the conversation. Until then, have a good one, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your listeners. And I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. Reflect on the death of Christ and what it meant for all of us. And I think that is important for us to consider during this Easter time. Let's live good with one another. Thank you so very much for having me, man.
It's a pleasure, always. Hey, folks, that's it. We're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank all who contributed to today's program. Have a good one, folks. That's why I say goodbye.